Hey guys, John Stradamus here. Real quick, I know it's a little bit of a rough video, but I had to get this video out. It's in regards to what's happening tomorrow, okay? Tomorrow, there's the conjunction between Uranus and Mars in Western astrology, it's in Taurus. In Eastern astrology, it's in Aries. This is huge, guys, for the world events, okay? And that's why we have to talk about this one. And I'm just recording this. I've been sort of out of. I'm still into astrology, but I have other projects in my life, coaching and such things. So while I'm really good at astrology and I've made really amazing predictions, I've moved on with my life. But I wanted to come back and talk about what's going on. Okay, but just to qualify myself, I predicted the COVID crash, the 2020 COVID crash. Sorry. Was it? Yeah, it was 2020 was the day that the market changed and went down. I predicted that 10 months in advance to the day. So I'm not sure. I keep on bringing that one up, but I'm just qualifying myself for why you should listen to me, okay? So I do make predictions that have come true. So the last time this Uranus and Mars conjunct in Taurus/Aries, depending on which system you're going by, right, was 1938. It was the day that Germany, the German army, the German military, entered into Austria and entered into Adolf Hitler's hometown. Okay, so this is very, very significant. Now, if you should watch the video clip of this. Hopefully I can clip this up. If not, you should go watch the clip. Probably just talking about it will probably load that clip into your YouTube recommendations, into your feed, or to the recommended things. So watch that video, right? And understand that if you were watching that video during those times, that event may have not seemed so significant, right? But in hindsight, it was massively significant, right? It was the beginning of the ramp up to World War II, okay? So very, very significant. Now, there are themes that were going on during those times that are going on again, okay? The absolute, for certain themes that are polarized and that are battling, are communism versus fascism, or communism versus nationalism. Okay? Those were the two ideologies, the two polarized ideologies that were essentially conflicting. It was a time of populism, right? This is a time of populism. Populism being not one ideology, it can be left or right ideology. It doesn't specifically need to be like a left or right ideology. It's when people become polarized, often it arises in the form of fascism and communism are the common ones, right? So this is a populist time, and it's a very, very divisive time, right? But see, what always precedes the fascism and the nationalistic snapback, and I'm just looking back towards World War II, what follows that is by default fascism. See, the communists, you got to understand, you got to read like the Communist Manifesto, you got to read some of their materials. You got to understand they're very anti-family. They're very, very much about like kind of, I'm paraphrasing here, but tearing down the system. Because the whole idea of this like proletariat versus the bourgeoisie and all these ideas, there is some validity to the way they frame things up. I'm not, it's not completely invalid, but when we look at what happened with Stalin, right, and we look at what happened with the Bolsheviks, right, and the atrocities there that were committed by them and then by the Allied forces, guys, I'm just telling you from research perspective, like you should go out and research this stuff. I'm not even going to make a statement about it because I'm actually afraid to make a statement about what I've found doing research, right? So I'll leave that to you. I won't even, right? That just the fact that I don't want to talk about it should tell you enough that it's important to go look at. Okay, go look at it on your own. So fascism versus communism. But see, the point is that was a launching point for the right or the nationalists or what the Nazis essentially in Germany to rise up. When I say rise up, they were resistance. Of course, in the end, they lost, of course. But that was the start of the ramp up to war. And I believe that same general thing can be said for what this event, this Uranus and Mars in Taurus / Aries is going to launch. Now, understand, there's a reason why the Vedic system kind of proves true in this one, and that has to do with Aries, okay? And this also has to do with the ages, guys, because I want you to zoom out a little bit more and not worry so much about the planets and the zodiac signs. I want you now to zoom out and look at the ages. Now, I'm writing a book right now. It's going to take me a while, but it's called, right now, the idea is like it's a theory of the ages. It may be titled differently, but it's really looking at things, recorded history, and aligning it with the ages, right? Which I believe history should be taught that way, within the framework of the zodiacal ages, okay? And when you look at those ages, you see that, right? Okay, so we just entered into the age of Aquarius, according to some people. Some people say it was 2012. Some people say it just happened, I think, in May. Whatever. We are sliding into the age of Aquarius, okay? And if you didn't previously know about the ages, you should look it up. You should look up precessional slippage, right? Or precession of the equinoxes. It's a slow precession. In other words, the sign and the exact degree that's on the eastern horizon at a precise point, that's how we measure what age we're in, right? What point we're in. It's called the vernal equinox, the spring equinox. So the point that's rising in the spring, that's what shows you what age it is, right? And I'm not going to go into a deep lesson on the ages, but the ages go backwards in reverse of the planets. So that's why we were in the age of Pisces, and now we're entering into the age of Aquarius. So I'm trying to relate it. I'm going to relate this back to the Uranus and Mars conjunction. Okay, so just bear with me. My point is that's the bigger pattern. Like that's the stronger pattern, right? Everything with that points you to where things are headed, regardless, right? Regardless of the fluctuations, the planetary energies, the conjunctions that happen, the major events. Even if, like, for example, we have a swing back to nationalism or fascism, at the end of the day, or when we look at the ages, we are moving away from Aries, right? The ages are slipping away from Aries. And as we slip away from Aries, you see things that are Aryan or of that Aries energy that peaked during the age of Aries, that Roman times, that male energy, that aggression, that war, let's go to war and fight, right? All that stuff is now, it was already, it's going to continue to be in decline as we proceed through the ages, right? Because it's two ages back now, right? So looking at the ages backwards, it's Aries is 2 back now. And now 1 back is Pisces. And now we are in Aquarius, the age of Aquarius. All right. So now that I want you to understand that, because that is the bigger pattern, right? Inevitably, any sort of nationalistic uprising is gonna end up losing. It may win in the short term, but in the end, it doesn't look good for it. From my predictive standpoint, okay? It has nothing to do with my personal opinions about any of this stuff. I'm wearing my astrologer hat right now, okay? So I bring that up because it's the bigger picture. Now, zoom in, we'll talk about the conjunction, right? What is Uranus? Uranus is revolutions, right? Sudden events, right? And Mars is aggression, power, well, not power, Pluto's more power. Aggression, that male energy, that anger, that forceful projective energy, right? So Mars coming conjunct. And by the way, when it comes to world events and actually personal events, Mars is often the trigger. Like when everything else is setting itself up and, there's conjunctions and trines and oppositions and all this stuff, Mars is often the trigger which will trigger an event, right? Or kick something off. Okay? So that's what I believe is going to happen. Now, I've been talking more about general stuff, the stuff I've said previously, that there's just going to probably will be an event. But if not, even if there is not a particular event tomorrow, it's likely things are going to progressing towards war. Okay. Now I say progressing towards war. We're also going to be, I think there's also going to be some kind of, we're going to be moving into like a little bit of a nationalistic uprising, right? A little bit of a right lean. Things are going to slide away from these left liberals and more towards, there's going to be now more and more momentum for the right? The nationalists, the patriots, right? But as I said, in the end, I hate to break it to anybody, but in the end, that energy loses because it's an Aries energy. It's in the past, right? However, year to year, day to day, these energies come and flow with all the other energies. These energies don't just disappear. They just lessen, okay? So I expect some kind of triggering beginning event, okay? Something significant, something symbolic almost. Now, my guesses, I have a few guesses of what might happen tomorrow or the second. My guess is that Trump may announce his candidacy for office. Okay? Because that itself could be seen as like a similar to sort of a parallel, sort of a similar event to Hitler entering in German army entering into Austria before World War II in 1938. Right? So I imagine it's probably some kind of announcement by Donald Trump. Also, what it could be is that like these January 6 hearings, like they may try to indict him. They may, or I don't know, they might try to, I don't even know if, I'm sorry, I don't fully understand if they have the power to do that. Whatever it is they have the power to do, they will continue to diminish him and attempt to destroy him. All that stuff, guys, and again, you have to study history to understand this stuff. You got to understand that everything's moving towards being more corporate, more globalized, right? And you got to understand, I'm not even in favor of it, but when I put my astrologer hat on, I admit it, right? That's the way it's going. But we do need deterrence on a local level. Like, so, and when I say we, I'm talking about all people, right? But tomorrow is a good starting point for something kind of the people standing up for ourselves against kind of, globalism and such things. But who knows? This could also have something to do, definitely could have something to do with China and Russia and us. It very likely even could have something to do with, I forgot what I was going to say. China is having a lot of problems with their debt. And I think their monetary. I've seen a few headlines. I haven't read into it too deeply. So they're struggling, right? They're struggling to manage their reputation. They're struggling to keep their country up and running, keep their systems in place because people just don't like the communism, right? So, anyways, guys, I predict definitely some kind of event. I don't expect it to be like 9/11 or something. Like, I don't expect that, right? Because you look at Hitler entering into Austria, that event wasn't so huge and massive, but it was symbolic, right? He entered into I believe, his old hometown, right? And so that was how it all began, right? So unfortunately, I think we're leading into I think we're leading into war, unfortunately. I don't mean that to be alarmist or hyperbolic like some people are. I don't want to do that. I'm not that kind of person. I don't even have the energy to be so hyperbolic and like trying to I don't want people to be stressed out and feeling negative. Actually, my goal is to help you to see clearly what's going on so that way you can like say, "Oh, got it. Boom, on with my life." Unless you're prone to be one of these people who do pay attention or participate in what's going on in the world, right? That's great. So guys, but that whole point about it happening in Aries is such an important point because when it happened before in Aries, look, it ended up being the Germans who end up being like the scapegoats. I'm not even gonna get into that. I'm sorry, I shouldn't even said that. But they end up being destroyed essentially. They end up lots and lots of millions and millions of European men, right? Set up to fight other European men and kill them, and millions of deaths from there. I believe tens or hundreds of millions of death in Stalin's his regime. Oh, excuse me. All right, so expect something similar to happen, something significant. Okay, I had to post this because it's the night before the 1st. I know I have a rough idea what's coming. But I would say, though, that if you're patriotic, nationalistic, this is all very good news. Because the tide is turning, right? It's been turning since about mid-February when we passed our Pluto retrograde, right? So it's time to adjust, to adapt, right? To get our lives back up and running. No more BS. No more shutdowns. No more, masks. All right, guys. Stay safe. Stay objective. Yep. I'll chat with you soon.